As we move on and learn about WordPress, it's important that you understand the file and folder structure of WordPress. There are basically two parts to a WordPress website, the files and the database. Both of these are critical to the functioning of your site. If you understand how they work, you will become a better user and be able to troubleshoot issues and make good decisions for your website. The WordPress file and folder structure is the engine of your website. These files contain the code that power your site. Since most of this is invisible, it can be a little confusing to understand and is akin to looking under the hood of your car. When you understand the WordPress file and directory structure, it will go a long way in instilling confidence in your ability to make changes to your website and troubleshoot problems. Understanding the WordPress file and folder structure is crucial because it allows you to effectively troubleshoot issues, customize your website more deeply, install plugins and themes correctly, and manage your site more efficiently by knowing where specific files are located. This is especially true when dealing with potential problems or making advanced modifications to your site. Essentially, it gives you a deeper level of control over your WordPress site, just beyond using the dashboard interface. Key reasons to learn about the WordPress file structure include being able to troubleshoot. When you encounter errors, knowing where to look in the file system can help you to identify the source of the problem and fix it more quickly. You'll also be able to make advanced adjustments to themes or plugins. You need to understand where the files are located within the WordPress directory structure in order to do this. Recognizing where sensitive files are stored helps you to implement better security measures to protect your website. Properly backing up your site requires knowing which directories contain essential files to ensure a complete backup. If you want to create your own WordPress plugins or themes, a thorough understanding of the file structure is essential. Knowing where specific files are located can help you to optimize your site's loading speed by managing image sizes and caching mechanisms. WordPress core files and folders are the fundamental files and directories that make up a WordPress website. They include the code that powers the login page, admin dashboard, database connection, and user management. The core folders are wp-admin. This contains PHP files that control the WordPress dashboard user interface. The WP Includes folder contains helper files that control the look and feel of the website, including fonts, widgets, and theme compatibility. The WP Content folder contains all user-uploaded content, including themes and plugins. Some of the core files are the wp-config.php file. This connects WordPress to the MySQL database. The index.php file is a core file. When the code in this file is executed, it will load the various elements of the page. The functions.php file is a core file that contains functions that enable WordPress to run. Other core files include cache.php, links.php, versions.php, and htaccess. You can download the WordPress core files as a zip file from wordpress.org. The WordPress development team maintains the core files and releases them for free. This is what we did when we downloaded WordPress and installed it so that we could build our own website. Let's take a look at the WordPress files so that you can start to become familiar with where they're located and what some of them do. Here on the left are all the files that show up when you download WordPress. So these are all of the necessary files that WordPress is going to need in order for you to install it and get up and running. On the right, I have the WordPress files of a currently running website. So you can see that some of these files are a little bit different, and we have a few additional files within the folder on the right. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these files in a code editor. Here I'm going to be looking at the WordPress files of an installed version of WordPress. I won't be going through all of these, but I just want to get you familiar with where some of these things are and what they contain. Currently, I'm looking at the root folder directory of a WordPress site. As we mentioned, it contains 3 directories: wp-admin, wp-content, and wp-includes. The wp-admin folder is going to contain all the files that power the WordPress admin interface. So whenever you're interacting with the WordPress admin, you're using files from this directory. As you can see, there are several subfolders as well as a bunch of PHP files that enable WordPress to run in the back end. The next folder is the WP content folder. This contains any files that can be added to a default WordPress website. So this would be plugins, themes, and any uploaded files. Any directories that plugins need to create to store additional files also reside within this folder. The WP includes folder contains the bulk of the core WordPress files. This includes all of the PHP files that make up the WordPress core, as well as any JavaScript and CSS files that are required for WordPress to run. This directory contains files that are used both by the WordPress admin and by any front-end requests. Regarding some of the static files, once you've installed WordPress, you will end up with a file called .htaccess. This is a special file that's used to configure the Apache web server for the WordPress installation. The license.txt file contains the license information for WordPress. WordPress is licensed under the open source GNU General Public License. This license allows anyone to use, modify, and redistribute WordPress. The readme.html file contains information about WordPress, including sections on installing and updating WordPress, system requirements, and links to various online resources. This file is the only file that can be viewed in a web browser right from this particular directory. Now let's move on to some of the PHP files that control a typical WordPress request. When the index.php file is executed, it's going to include the code in the wp blog header.php file. This file is going to go ahead and load the WordPress library as well as all of the theme templates. The wp load.php file is going to include a link to the wp-config file. This file is the main configuration file for a WordPress website. It contains all the configuration options that are required to run WordPress. This includes things like the database connection information, security keys, and any custom configuration options that you may want to add. The wp-config file includes the wp settings.php file, which sets up all of the core WordPress functionality. There are some additional PHP files in the root directory that perform specific functions outside of regular WordPress requests. These files are usually accessed directly by either a user or some function that are not included in the normal WordPress flow. An example of this would be the wp-activate.php file. This is used to confirm the activation key that is sent in an email after a user signs up for a new site. The WP login information is going to display the login form for a WordPress site, and it also processes any login requests that are submitted. Obviously, there are other files that are located within this directory folder. I just wanted to give you a quick introduction of where some of these things are and give you a high-level overview of what they actually do. As we progress through our class, we will modify certain files in order to change some of the functionality of our WordPress website. I do want to warn you that you need to be careful about modifying these files, as if you change some of them, you may inadvertently break the website. There are safe ways of being able to modify the core WordPress files and ensure that your website is not going to be compromised in any way. We'll be looking at some of these things as we continue learning about WordPress.